What is up, everybody? Long time no see in 49er land. This is another edition of 49er Minded. Took some time off. A lot of things happened in my personal life, and but I'm back. I'm glad to be back. I did make a few appearances on some other people's channels. If you were clicking away and watching those other channels, I definitely hopped on those channels. But great to see some people here in the chat, and we got Pete from Niner Fanatic Podcast. What's up, bro? How you doing?
What's going on, Bashar? Happy to be here. Long time no see, but it's another day, another day to love the Niners and get ready for this to keep the offseason going.
Oh yeah, and the off season, like for me, is like during the season and when there's things going on, I'm calling certain friends all the time. I'm texting certain friends all the time, and sometimes a lot of that just stops because for me, I'm like, I have nothing to talk about. Let's say what's up to some people in the chat though.
For sure.
They've been waiting patiently, and I'm gonna show these people some love. We got Red Jet Shell. Shout out to Red Jet Shell. She goes on with the Terror Dome. Welcome to the Terror Dome, and yeah, she's on there every Thursday, I believe. What up, Raphael? Says, what's up, Bashar, Peter, and everyone? Just like, comment, subscribe, everyone. Here we go. Oh, we got Niner Fanatic. There he is. That's Pete right there. Hey, check out, subscribe to his YouTube channel if you have not already. He's very informative. He's very passionate about the Niners, and that's why I have him on. And overall, just a good person. I like having good people on. That's how I am.
Appreciate you.
Oh, man, likewise.
Mutual.
Rob D says the return of the bash. Call whatever you want, man. Niner Sickness Podcast. Bienvenidos.
Oh, what's going on, Beto?
What up, Beto?
That's my boy.
Yeah, man. He's our Spanish-speaking member of the Niner Empire, and very, very proud person right there. I usually don't get excited and pumped up about the offseason, but then again, this is the first time in a long time that I've been on my channel. There's a lot to talk about, considering in regards to the last time I came on here, and I wanted to do all these pre-draft shows and all these mock draft shows. And again, I was mentioned, those who know me really, really well know what happened in my life, and they know it didn't make any sense for me to come on during those times. But let's just have a quick little recap. Just a quick little recap of the guys we drafted, and then we can go into the UDFAs, and obviously, hey, there's mini camps that took place. Mandatory, OTAs, mini camps, all that. Eric Wallace is here. What up, Eric? He says, "Hey, Bash and Peter. Hey, fam. Good to see you, bro." Yeah. So I mean, I was sitting by. I was pretty pumped up about the draft. We finally had a first round draft pick, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting in front of the TV, and I've been talking with my friends about getting a tackle for God knows how long, and Ricky Pearsall comes up. Now I didn't know who he was, but it definitely wasn't. I was like, what? Like my brain was just thinking a million things. Like, wow, we picked him early, and why did we go this route? And a whole bunch of things. Shout out to John V. What up, John V? Says FS, my dudes. John? Yeah, he's been on the show plenty of times. But yeah, man, when you were watching, I'm sure you pretty much had a similar reaction, I assume, right?
You know what? I had a really weird reaction to it for a different reason, because at the time, when it was going off, everybody was getting the picks early. We were all getting the picks early on Twitter. At least I was. And somebody had posted Cooper DeJean was the pick. And or not somebody, like 3 different major media people. And then when it came up on the screen, it was Ricky Pearsall. So and we were actually on a show with Beto and Niner Jess and East Coast Red Gold, and there's a whole bunch of people on the panel. So it was just really weird, because we had been calling them right all night, and then that last pick ended up being Ricky Pearsall, which I think surprised everybody, because there were so many other names on the board still, not just because it wasn't a tackle. It was just there were so many other names, and for them to take Ricky Pearsall was just a little surprising.
It very much was, so a lot of people were saying afterwards that, other teams may have been, he may have been on other teams' radar in the second round, because we pretty much picked towards the end of the first round. It wasn't like a major high pick or anything like that, but still, you go on those mock draft sites, you see Ricky Pearsall's name popped up around 3, maybe 4. But a lot of those year in and year out, those mock draft sites do tend to be wrong a lot too. I mean. Yeah. How many mock draft sites had Brendan Rice going around 2? He goes around 7.
There was a lot.
Yeah, so a lot of that stuff does happen, and Bill Walsh said it best: it doesn't matter where you're drafted. You know,
Mm-hmm.
to perform. You know, that's how he looks at it. And you know,
Absolutely.
you know, I feel bad for the fans of Niner fans that didn't know who Pearsall was and they saw the pick happen. I knew who he was. I knew he was a good player. I was just shaking my head a bit in terms of where we were going with the team. When are we going to get a damn offensive lineman? You know,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do? What does this mean? Do we trade Debo or what are we doing? But are we signing Ayuk soon? And you know, we all know that part hasn't happened yet. But you know, hey, there were Niner fans I remember that right off the bat they just hated the Pearsall pick so much.
I know I was one. I know I was one of them.
What I keep hearing is Pettis. I mean, it's like,
well, the biggest thing for me was I felt like we all knew that the 49ers needed an offensive tackle. Now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good Ricky Pearsall is. Like, honestly. Like, it just, I don't think anybody was mad at Pearsall, the player. It was as much as it was, just like nobody was mad at Moody when he was picked. It wasn't about Moody. It was about where they picked him. Because a lot of people thought that Pearsall would have been available later. And even if you wanted to trade up in the second round, you could have still got him. But the offensive tackles that were still on the board at that third pick 31, they needed an offensive tackle. And I think that there was quite a few that could have competed with Colton McKivitz, in my opinion. And the main guy I was looking at was Kingsley Sumatai.
Yeah.
And I really wanted that kid. I think that he has a tremendous upside. He's competing right now as we speak on Kansas City. He's competing right now for the left tackle spot. So it is what it is. The 49ers have their way of picking people. You can't really argue with it because they've had the success that they've had. But at the same time, it doesn't stop us as fans from being disappointed that they don't pick the players that we think that they could have had something extra there, and they might not have had to do all the bells and whistles and the hoops that they jump through sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, for example, look at the last year. I mean, I was told that people were telling me, why do you keep tweeting about DeJuan Jones? He's not going to be available when we pick. He's not going to be available when we pick. Why do you keep talking about him? And I'm watching the draft live. I'm with Beto and Jess, and I'm live on their channels, and then I'm like all excited and pumped up that we're in round 3. We have 3 picks, and DeJuan Jones is still on the board, only for me to drop every curse word on the planet each time he wasn't picked. You know, so. Yeah, bro, and to see him perform and do well, and then people were just constantly messaging me on Twitter, "You're stupid, you're dumb. He doesn't fit Shanahan's scheme, and he's too big, and he's slow, and he's fat, and blah blah blah." Dude, I've seen this guy mauling top level DNs in pass protection more so than anything else, and I'm like, dude, you're telling me that this guy couldn't be at McKivitz if we had him? You know, it's like,
yeah, and even if he couldn't, let's say he couldn't. Let's say you couldn't beat McKivitz. What's stopping them from giving him the Aaron Banks treatment, having him take a year off, get his body more in what Shanahan wants to do? Aaron Banks still isn't a typical lineman for the 49ers. Like, but I mean, he's performing well. So I just think that the 49ers they prioritize. Well, not that we think. Forster, I don't know if you saw the interview, but Forster got out there and really told everybody what their thought process is on offensive linemen and why they pick them where they do. And I thought that which made it even worse to me. But
yeah, I was gonna mention Chris Forrester. It's Chris Forrester. I always didn't jack his name up, but yeah, I was telling people on it was one of the podcasts I was on after the draft, and I was just bringing it up as a theory. This is before he even Forster opened his mouth, actually. But I was bringing it up like, does he have this mindset that he can take average to below average players and make them serviceable? Therefore, he doesn't want the talent going to the player because they're a big ticket, big name guy. And then it's like, oh no, I'm Chris Forster. I can shape these guys into the players they need to be, and so we can still win games. I'm sure, yeah, we're still winning games, but we could possibly win more games. You know what I mean? If we have somebody out there who can just give pretty less pressure
and beat better teams. Like, that's the thing. So, Yeah, I just think that Chris Forster, I don't think it's necessarily Chris Forster is going to be positive on camera no matter what they do, what they give him, because I mean that's his job. His job is to um, make it work. So of course he talked about that's Lynch and Shanny's thing that they have their little line, and is that player above or below the line? And if they can't perform above the line, no matter how little it is, then they can't play. And there's a lot of offensive linemen out there that have supreme athletic gifts. And will they get it and be in the right spot all the time? Maybe not, but you know what? Their athletic gifts let them make up some of that ground. And who's to say that they don't end up picking it up eventually? So that's your job as a coach, is to coach them up. And you just don't know. So I just think you always go with the talent. Like you can go for the personal issues, like the personal issues and the character issues, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely do your due diligence in that. But at the same time, it shouldn't be all about, oh, he has to be the smartest guy in the room and he has to be in the perfect spot every time, because as we've seen in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, that doesn't always, if they do make a mistake, there's no athleticism there to make up the ground.
You were saying something about you can get the talented, most talented, most physical guys or something. And now you said it, and I was going to say, like, yeah, all the other teams get them, but us, basically.
Yeah.
I was going to throw a little funny comment, but I was letting you finish. We actually, so yeah, it's all good. It's all good, man. Our second pick was Renardo Green from Florida State. So I didn't know who he was at the time, but they were showing his highlights, and I know that we need depth in the secondary, even though I'm more of a trenches guy in the earlier picks. But I was like, okay, cool. This guy looks like he could do something. And he locked up that receiver from LSU, Jalen, I believe his name, the guy who went to
Neighbors.
Yeah, Neighbors. Yeah. Malik Neighbors. Sorry, I keep calling him Jalen. I don't know why. Yeah. So what'd you think about that pick when it happened?
I mean, that was another one that was kind of iffy because they just picked Pearsall, and then they traded up. Then they let Kingsley go to Kansas City, and then there was still tackles on the board, and they said no, we're going to go Renardo Green, and was he the next one, or was
Renardo Green was number 2?
Was he? Okay, so then they went Renardo Green, and then I think it was Pooney after that, but it was just weird. It was a typical 49er draft.
Oh, exactly. And even when they got Pooney in round 3, I was like, okay, cool, finally a tackle. But then they're like, no, he's a guard. He's a guard. Why do we draft? I always pick up these guys who are these badass tackles in college, but then once he gets to the NFL, he's got the short arms. His arms are too short. He can't be a tackle. He's got to be a guard. Like, can we get a tackle, please? Let me say what's up to a couple people that just popped in. We got Aaron for 49ers First Take says, what's up, guys? We got David McNiner. I was on his channel recently. He said, what's good, Bashar? And Pete. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's good to always see fellow contract creators and just fellow 49er fans in general on here. If you're not a 49er fan, say something. It's all good, man. And Beto from 96's podcast says, actually, this draft just happened. It was completely different from the other draft. Our drafts are the most unique drafts, like in NFL history, I think. They're just very unpredictable. It is what it is. After that, we got, so hopefully Dominic Pooney does show up and show out. We'll see if he's an upgrade or not. Malik Mustafa. A lot of people are saying Malik.
Malik.
So I'm from he's not Arabic, but he's using the Arabic name. But there is a name Malik and there's a name Malik, and they have similar meanings. And a lot of people are saying Mustafa, but it's actually Mustafa. So he's from Wake Forest. He was a safety that I was very familiar with, a little bit familiar with, more so that I always saw him on the mock draft websites whenever I was doing the mock drafts. I watched a little bit of his highlights. But I didn't know much else about him, but I knew he was one of the higher ranked safeties within those rounds. Were you pretty excited when we got him, or you did got that pick?
Him, I really was. Because I thought of him as he's going to be another safety I think he has a little bit more juice and athleticism than Jair Brown does. Not saying that Jair Brown is any less of a player, but I felt like he was a similar player, and it seems like the 49ers are kind of veering towards that three safety look, bringing Brandon Staley in, and it's just going to be. I think you're going to see him close to the line of scrimmage, and he may even. They talk about him like he's this big ball of muscle, and don't put it past them to eventually turn him into a linebacker type. So because they like their linebackers small and like kind of light, so it wouldn't surprise me if eventually he became like a replacement for Greenlaw or something to that effect. But I think that they're going to use him in a lot of three safety looks, and he's almost going to be like another linebacker out there.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think I heard some rumor that Gibson might retire, or there may be a slight possibility of him coming back. I'll be surprised if he comes back now, though. We already have Jair Brown, Hufanga is on working himself in, and nice to have Malik Mustafa in the mix. We got Isaac Garendo was picked up. This is like the height, weight, speed guy of the draft. I believe he's like 6'1" or 6'2", runs like a 4.35 or 4.38,
220 pounds,
25, and he only had one big game in college. That was the bowl game. He didn't really get that many carries, but you see this guy, and Shanahan's never really had a guy this big and this fast to work with in his offense, and he does seem to have a decent amount of hands, and he showed that he can block in college too. So we'll see what we can do with him. Do you have any thoughts about him?
Isaac Garendo, I really wanted him because I felt like for the Niners, I had been mocking him to the Niners the whole offseason just because of the speed aspect. And I think that is something that's just missing in our running back room. They needed some speed, and he was one of the few that actually had the size and the speed. And I felt like he was a good one cut and go guy. Now, does he have the vision to be a great one cut and go guy? It's kind of iffy, and the results have been mixed out of what we're hearing out of camp about him. Frankly, the undrafted guy they said has looked a little bit better than him, but I don't think that's going to stop anything. We all knew that. I think that he's more of a rough draft, and they were going to have to work with him. And Bobby Taylor said pretty much the same thing, and even Isaac Garendo admitted it when he did his press conference earlier, was that he knows he's a work in progress, and that's something that he's going to be, I'm guessing, working on all this offseason. But I think they're going to use him a lot in the passing game as well, so we'll see.
Yeah, I keep muting myself. Let me say what's up to some people who are here right now. We got Bebop. What up, Bebop? Good to see you, bro. Always good to have Bebop around here. I think I might have missed somebody else. If I do, let me know. I'll shout you out if I haven't done it already. Isaac, here you go. California 4000. There's no relation to Andre 3000. Says good evening, Niner faithful. Good to see you. Yeah. So Isaac Garendo, man. I mean, his former college coach from Wisconsin likened him to Jonathan Taylor on the Indianapolis Colts. I'm like, I thought that was pretty. I don't see how they're similar, but he might be right. I hope that's a great problem to have if he is right. I mean, that'd be nice.
He's not.
Yeah. I don't think he is. Well, I mean, I keep hearing that the 49ers may plan to make him a fullback. I mean, I'm not saying the 49ers said that themselves, but there's people who watch the Niners were putting that out there that, he looks like he could be a fullback or hey, maybe they might make him the kick returner because of the new kick return rule. Seems like you got to have more of a stronger breaking the tackles type runner, more so than a breakaway pure speedster, more so. Who was that running back that we got? I have the UDFA list right here because I know people were talking about the UDFAs, and you mentioned. So I mean, does Garendo? When I watched Garendo's film, it doesn't look like he. Cody Schrader, I think, was the running back you were talking about, right?
Schrader, yep.
Yeah, and supposedly he ran like a 4.6 something in the 40. Some people in camp were saying he looked a bit faster than what his 40 time indicated. And then it's kind of funny because sometimes guys don't look as fast as their 40 time indicates either. Whereas when I see Isaac Garendo, I don't see his speed like right away. I don't know. Do you notice anything with the speed? Because you said you were very familiar with him before we got him.
Yeah. So Isaac Garendo is more of the reason why he doesn't look like he just jumps off the tape is I call him kind of like a space eater. As in he kind of runs right into he has very little wiggle, if any. And he ends up running right into tacklers. which makes it seem like he can't really build up his speed, but he eats up the space in between them so quickly. He'll make the one cut, get into the open field, and then end up running right into the tackler. And sometimes he'll run through the tackler, but more often than not, he would end up only getting 6-7 yards because he would let himself get tackled by one guy. And because he would run the guy over or whatever the case was. But it's just kind of weird. So I call him kind of a space eater because he eats up the space so quickly, but then he runs right into tacklers. So I think that they're really going to have to work on his vision and just his kind of like, I mean, he's got to have a little, with all that athleticism, he's got to have some kind of wiggle. And I think it just comes down to his feet and decisiveness. But Cody Schrader, I think that's what makes him look a little faster than what his 40 time would suggest, is that he has really good feet, really decisive, and he has good vision. So he cuts into the hole, and when he sees the lane, he hits the lane as hard as he can. And like so it's just a different, it's like if you got the guy over here that doesn't have the athleticism, but he has all the right tools to be a good running back, and then you got the guy that you want to be the good running back that has the physical ability, and he doesn't quite have it all together. So it's like, which one do you really want?
I got you. And soon after, the Niners had picked up Jacob Cowing, wide receiver from Arizona, another Arizona guy on the Niner team. So small little speedster, but he's about 5'8". You kind of worry about his size. Will he be able to handle the rigors of the NFL? But I don't know. I've been hearing some good things about him. What do you think about that pick?
There's another guy that I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be the most impactful rookie that we have. I think that he's going to end up taking that Ray McLeod position. I know that everybody thinks Pearsall's going to end up being that in that spot, but I think Jacob Cowing is going to show up and show out, and I think he's going to do some things. I think he's going to be one of the guys that ends up being a star on the on special teams, and we'll see. But I think that kid is explosive, and because he's so low to the ground, I think that he's going to make plays that other guys just don't have the wiggle to make. And I think you're going to see he's just very explosive, and he's 0 to 60 in 2-point flat.
Yes, sir. So we got somebody saying you look like Garth Brooks here, Rob.
Yeah, man. If I had that pocketbook, I just want his money.
Exactly. Hey, call me Garth Brooks all you want.
Call me what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had people tell me that I look like Tony Soprano or whatever. I'm like, oh, well, I wish I had his acting roles in his bank account.
For sure.
So, Niner Sickness Podcast, Beto said, I think they drafted Garendo more for the new kickoff rule on special teams. That's what some people were speculating. I don't think that would be the sole reason to go that far for the pick. But yeah, that could be one of the reasons. It's going to be very interesting to see what we do with that player. I'd be very disappointed if he fizzles out, because I just want. It's very rare, again, that we get some guy with that type of speed and size on this Niner team and this Niner offense under Shanahan, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to see what we could do with him. We did pick up some UDFAs as well. You mentioned the one that's been standing out so far is one that you mentioned, the running back Cody Schrader. Did you watch a lot of Cody Schrader in college, or
no? I didn't know anything about Cody Schrader until he got picked up by the 49ers, and I had to go back and look. Got it. But apparently he was like the most prolific running back in college football. I don't know. I think that I didn't hear a lot about him because nobody expected him to get drafted, and because of the 40 time. But I think the tight end, people got to watch out for that tight end that they got and then drafted free agency.
Mason Pline, the 6'7" guy.
I've heard a lot of good things out of. I've heard, he's a basketball player. He's raw. But I've heard a lot of good things about him, so we'll see.
And we signed Logan Thomas. I mean, so we're gonna go a little into training camp right now, and we could start off with the tight ends. That's fine. I mean, we just signed Logan Thomas. He had about 50 catches last year, but a couple of the guys at camp still think that Mason Pline may have a shot to beat him out. So that's gonna be interesting. The Cameron Latou pick is looking really bad right now. I mean, I mentioned DeJuan Jones and all that stuff. I mean, it's like we have like more tight end depth too. I'm forgetting some names of some of the other guys we brought in, but yeah, it sounds like one thing coming out of OTAs and minicamp so far is that the tight end depth does look a bit more legit. At least hope so. I hope so. Jeez. We lost Dwelly, we lost Warner. I did like Warner as a blocker. He just wasn't a complete tight end, you know.
He just can't catch. He was stone hands. And
yeah. And Dwelly couldn't block.
Yeah. It's just I was so happy that Dwelly's not back. I'll be honest.
I was never big on Dwelly. You know, one time I was big on Dwelly, I'll be honest. It was one of the preseasons. I believe the 2018 preseason, and that was it. That was it.
Oh yeah, back then when we didn't know better.
Exactly.
But he just, I mean, he's not a bad receiving tight end. He wasn't really fast. He could catch, but he's not. But he can't block. So yeah, I'm just happy that they have. Yeah, I'm just happy that they have more options. Like I think that is key for the 49ers is that they just got some fresh blood in there. I think Cam Latu is behind the 8 ball because you don't hear anything. I don't know if he's even medically cleared to play yet. So it's going to be, but Mason Pline's in there. You got Logan Thomas and Shanny's talking like it needs to be a full-blown competition. So, and because I heard Braden Willis is looking actually really good as well.
I was going to add that. That's the name I was going to bring up. Dude, I heard Braden Willis is looking really good in this camp. A lot better than he did last year. And last year I kept hearing about Braden Willis in camp. I was disappointed that I never saw the guy get much touches because I kept hearing that he was this yak yardage type guy, run after the catch type of guy. I was like, okay, because I love it when the 49ers pick up run after the catch yak yardage type players. I'm interested to see what this guy could do with the ball in his hands. Now, when I looked at Braden Willis on the field, when I saw him in training camp, I went to training camp one day. He didn't look like a tight end to me. And now I know that could be a little overrated. I get it, looks could be deceiving for times at times, but he just didn't. I was like, can this guy block? He doesn't really look like a tight end, you know? But again, I hear
the Super Bowl.
Yeah. What was his mess up at the Super Bowl again? I keep forgetting.
He only got in for one play and he got called for a hold.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, and
we didn't score on that drive, right? I don't think we scored. Yeah,
it took us all the way back. And
I'll try my best not to bring that game up and not to talk about it because I want to have a good show. So
yeah,
there were just so many errors. Like,
we're not gonna go into it.
We could have a whole 3-hour show based on it. A show just as long as the game was.
For real.
Yeah, but you know, I'm looking at the list. It was the one name I was thinking of who had NFL experience was Eric Sober. I don't know much about the player, to be honest, but I know I know he's been on other teams. About 6'5", 248, and I don't know. You know, he's bounced around. Let's just say that, but he's been in the league since 2017, so he's got NFL experience. Yeah, been on multiple teams, but yeah, I just think from the outside looking in, the tight end position looks to be a bit nicer. You know, it's last year pretty much was the George Kittle show and nothing else, and that's pretty much what the tight end position was. And you can't have that. You can't on any team. You can't have that. Yeah, but one good thing I really heard in camp, and doesn't surprise me, so to speak. Some Niner fans may not want to hear it because I don't know. There's some people still aren't on board with the. It's Brock Purdy. I'm happy to hear
Who's not
that.
On board with Brock.
There are people. I've heard people whisper on Twitter. Oh, some people tweet out like, "Oh, I think we should draft Michael Penix with the first round pick."
Are you for real?
I'm dead serious. And these people tell me I don't know football, and I was like, okay, well, I supported Lance just as much as you did, but he's not on the team no more. And they said, "Oh no, we shouldn't give Brock Purdy a contract. He's not it. He's never going to be good. He's never going to be elite." And I don't know. I just hear ridiculous
stuff.
Just
wild.
I know.
That is. I mean, okay, I get it that he doesn't have all the measurables. I'm in multiple chats on Twitter, and this thought process that Brock Purdy is not the guy and that he's not worth this, that, and the third is just crazy to me. You can't find professional quarterbacks that can do what he did. I don't care if it's Shanny's offense or not. Like he ran Shanny's offense better than anyone not named Matt Ryan.
Exactly.
So what are we talking about? Like he hasn't been able, like Shanahan hadn't been able to find anybody to run that offense better than maybe Matt Ryan, and that's even debatable. So just be quiet and just look at what you got in front of you and enjoy the magic. Brock Purdy he played phenomenal. And honestly, he bailed out Shanny a few times. So yeah, people got to pump the brakes on that kind of stuff.
Big time.
It's just wild.
Big time. He once Trey was traded, I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, I guess we got to move on from him. But then once week 1 took place and I saw Brock Purdy play with so much confidence against the Steelers, I was like, okay, now I know why they did the trade. Now I know what direction Niners are heading in. Now I know why they named him the starter early on. It all makes sense to me now. Let's go. Let's do this. I'm on board with this. And after this past season, I still don't get why some Niner fans aren't on board. But my point is that Brock, a lot of people said, "Oh, well, Brock is doing." You can put any other quarterback in the NFL in Shanahan's system, and they'll do the same thing with all the good players we have. I mean, a lot of people don't like Grant Cohn, and they hate it if I quote him or bring his name up in the mix. But he actually said that Purdy was literally the best player out there. In the minicamp those past 2 days. I mean, he said his confidence looked more improved. He just looked improved. He looked way more confident. And that's great that he's working on his craft to get better, because everybody assumed that what we saw from Purdy and that short little stretch of games and last year, those 2 seasons, that he was never going to get, that's his ceiling. And he's going to tell everybody, no, that wasn't my ceiling.
And do you know I don't know if people understand how hard it is to get compliments out of Grant Cohn on any player.
Exactly.
Like consistently, and all offseason, he has had nothing but good things to say about Purdy, which is really weird. Really weird. It's weird to hear him talk so glowingly about one player. And it's and he even went as far as to say that, Shanahan's kind of holding him back. So I don't know. I just think that I think the world of Brock, and everybody wants their quarterback to be 6'4", 6'5", run a 4.5 40 and has a rocket arm. But then when you get that guy, he can't pick up the offense. And that's what happened with Trey. He couldn't stay on the field long enough to pick up the offense and have mastery over it like Brock picked up. Brock didn't get hurt like he did. He did get hurt, but he didn't get hurt as frequently as Trey did, and he had played way more football than Trey did.
He had a miraculous comeback off that injury too. I doubted Brock after that injury against the Eagles. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take for him to come back. I wasn't sure what he would look like when he came back, and he passed with flying colors. So,
well, I mean, he already looked really good in the offense before the injury. So the only question was he going to have the same amount of arm strength? And because Shannon's going to scheme guys open. It's not all Brock out there just doing it by himself. But Brock's superpower is his ability to read the offense and see the field like Shanny does when he's calling plays. And they're just a match made in heaven when it comes to that. They see the game the same way. And so I knew that it was going to be similar. I was just questioning whether his arm strength was going to be there. And you could see it get stronger as the season went on. But I think he's going to be better this year. And it may not show up in the stat sheet, but I think it's going to show up in certain situational football. And I think he's going to be better. So the league better watch out.
Yeah, and a lot of those beat writers were pretty much on the same page with how more confident, just how much improved Purdy just looks in camp. I mean, so I'm excited to see it, and
can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, and speaking of him getting of it being hard to get compliments from Grant Cohn, Ricky Pearsall's been getting good compliments from Grant Cohn. When early on Pearsall was getting trashed by Grant Cohn, where the 49ers were kind of he was just questioning the Niners about the pick, and he was kind of throwing some Pettis vibes out there early on in the first rookie mini camp they had. But now it's like, oh wait, who's this guy out there that can run the entire route tree that's always open? and he's just running circles around people. Everybody in camp, and it looks like a really good target for Purdy right off the bat.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be solid. But even Grant he couldn't go all the way. He had to say that Pierce Hall doesn't look like a number one wide receiver, but he could be a great compliment to Ayuk or to whoever's here. and yeah, I think Pierce Hall is going to be a solid piece. It's going to be really hard for him to break into this gauntlet of wide receivers in this room and really chisel himself out like a spot. I mean, how many touches do you think he's going to end up getting? Because you got Debo, we presumably are going to have Ayuk. You got Kittle, CMC is going to get some catches. I assume Jawan Jennings is going to get some catches.
Kittle.
So I mean, how many targets is he going to get? And I've heard a lot of people say that like they're thinking he's going to get maybe 25 to 30. Well, what do you think?
I was thinking like 35 maybe, but again, you're right. I mean, it's a great problem to have for the team, right? I mean, we just Jennings possibly could have been the Super Bowl MVP. Jennings isn't known to be a great practice player either. I mean, so when we see Jennings, but he's just a gamer. That's what he is. Yeah. So he's a big target, different than any other receiver we got. Debo's wearing number 1 now. Ayuk might be on the team. We'll see where that goes.
I think he's going to be there.
Yeah, we'll talk about the other guy in a second. I mean, we got Jacob Cowing coming up in the mix. Now, with Grant saying that the number 1 receiver thing, we'll be real though. Because we don't need him to be a number 1 receiver right at this moment either. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I mean, but as far as being a complimentary guy and making Brock's job a lot easier, I think we could possibly see that type of impact this year. And I'm thinking this Niner offense. Now we got Pearsall and Jacob Cowing in the mix. I wouldn't be surprised if this offense is just more spread out than we've normally seen it in the Shanahan system. And I hear Purdy and Cowing are looking to form a nice connection in minicamp as well.
I hope so. I hope. You know what I hope? I hope that Shanahan gets out of his own way. That's what I hope. I hope that Shanahan stops overthinking it, kind of simplifies, because I think he gets accused a lot of not being creative enough in certain spots, and I think he needs to simplify it more and just call some basic stuff so that when he does call the razzle dazzle and all the double motions and all that other stuff, that it actually means something. And sometimes you just need to let your quarterback motion his guys into a favorable matchup. But when was the last time you ever saw, or have you ever seen BA get motioned? Ever?
You're right. I don't recall seeing Brandon Ayuk in motion.
Ever.
Yeah.
He's expected to be the extra receiver, and he just has to go up against the other team's best corner, and he's got to beat him every single time out. And most of the time he does, but I just feel like they need to Shanny's got to give away they say he trusts Brock. Okay, let's show us that you trust him and let him take more control of that offense. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty much going to be, this is year 3 for Brock, even though he wasn't the full-time starter in year 1, but it's going to be very interesting to see Brock's progression and possibly this thing that we're speculating, the change in the offense and the gradual change. So I'm excited to see it. Actually, I'm really, I trust Brock. I really do, and I just like the rapport that he seems to have with his receivers early on, even though he hasn't played. Well, he's already has a good rapport with the receivers that are there, and possibly a pretty good rapport with the new guys coming up in the mix. So I'm definitely excited to see that. I see Danny Gray's name sitting on the roster here. I don't expect him to make the squad, man. Ronnie Bell might be a bubble guy. Terrell Owens' son is on the squad. A lot of people were hyped up about that, but I'm just not too hyped up about it because I just don't think
he's played well.
Yeah.
From what I heard.
What are you hearing?
I heard he played well, but I mean, practice squad at best.
That's what I was saying, a developmental guy. We'll keep him around the practice squad, see if we can make something out of him. Maybe when other guys leave the team in 2 years, maybe we can throw him in there on the regular roster and see see what we got in the guy. I just some people just get way too excited because of the legacy and the name, behind it.
Yeah.
I actually went to Contra Costa College. It was a junior college for a minute. And Terry Owens actually played there. I didn't even know that Terrell Owens had a son playing at my old junior college, which is interesting because, I thought that was very interesting because I never heard of anybody really good that made it that played on that played at that school. But it's all good. Trent Taylor's in the mix. He's wearing number 19. I just don't see any room for him. Tay Martin's still around. So a lot of these guys are just camp fodder. And again, Ronnie, what do you think about Ronnie Bell? You think Ronnie Bell has a shot to stick around? I don't know. It's kind of looking slim now.
It's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard because you figure they're probably going to keep 6 at the most.
Yeah, usually we keep like 10 or 11 wide receivers / running backs total.
Yeah, they're going to keep 6, and they'll probably have 3 running backs on the squad. So you figure you got Debo, you've got presumably Ayuk, you got Pearsall. You assume that Jacob Cowing is going to make it. That's 4 already.
Yes,
so now you've got, and then Jawan Jennings, that's 5. So there's 1 spot.
Exactly.
And you've got Chris Conley. Ronnie Bell, and Tariq Owens, and who was the other guy that we talked about?
There was Danny Gray, Trent
Danny
Taylor.
Gray, and Tay Martin and those guys.
Yeah.
But so I mean, they're all fighting. They got 5 people fighting for 1 spot to be on the back end of the roster.
I'll be honest. Last year, I liked Conley a bit more than Ronnie Bell. I know Ronnie Bell.
I did too. I think Conley should be the one, but I think it's whoever plays the best on special teams because that's always the equalizer. And who knows how special teams is going to work this year with the new return rules.
Yeah, it's almost like we drafted that kicker for no reason.
For no reason at all.
I hope he's just badass at making field goals because the whole thing with his strong leg on kickoffs means nothing now.
Yeah, I mean,
Jake Moody.
He was hitting 50-yarders. He did hit a couple of 50-yarders. I mean, too bad that he couldn't hit that extra point, but we're not going to go back to the
same. Oh, man. Yeah. We keep going back to it, damn it. But we're not going back to it. It happens. Let's hit up the offensive line really quick. I mean, not much really happens in minicamp with the O-line. But we did actually say that again.
I said they can't touch each other.
Exactly. There's no pads. But I remember I played offensive line blocking without pads and all that. It just wasn't the same. It felt very weird. But we picked up a UDFA, Drake Nugent. We did draft Jarrett Kingston, both center guard types. Jake Brendel is having some injury issues. He's got Ben Barch backing him up, and then those 2 other guys I mentioned, and maybe Feliciano might step in. We got Dominic Pooney's obviously in the mix, and there was a tackle guy who has some NFL experience, who many looked at his pressure rates and pass blocking. He's bounced around to a couple of teams. Chris Hubbard from Tennessee Titans. Some people think that he might be good enough to beat out McKivitz or at least be a really good swing tackle. But where were you at with the offensive line right now?
I mean,
did you have to breathe in and gasp for that one? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same space that we were last year. I mean, I am worried about Brendel having knee issues because, I mean, they're not going to get better. They're not going to get better by the time the season starts. And when you got those heavy guys, when you start having knee issues, it's just, it doesn't go away. And so I'm worried about Brendel because I'm not sure Feliciano is the answer there. And I don't know if I've heard a lot of good things about Nugent, but I know Shanny does not want to put a rookie in at that spot. And but how do you would have to go with Feliciano. And then I think that they do have quite a bit of pieces for the offensive line, but I think it's just like Forster was talking about, that all these pieces are straddling that line he keeps talking about. And Colton McKivitz is okay until he's not. And you can't run to the right side right now. And that's the issue for me, is that they're constantly having to run to the left because the right side just can't provide any push at all. And if you have Feliciano at center, that means it's gonna be either Burford or Pooney. And Pooney's not that great of a run blocker to begin with. He's really good. He was really good in college against the pass, but he wasn't the greatest against the in the run game. So I don't know, and I haven't heard anything about the other rookie that they have. What's his name? You just mentioned his name.
Well, there's Jarrett Kingston from USC.
Kingston. Like, I haven't heard anything about him.
Me neither. I've heard nothing.
And I mean, to me, that's not really good news either.
Yeah,
because you're not making. I mean, you can't really hear anything about the offensive line right now because there's no pads.
Exactly.
But they've already been talking about Pooney. They've already been talking about like a couple of the other guys, and just from movement skills alone, and they haven't been talking about his movement skills at least. So, but I'm interested. What do you think about Burford moving? Because I've been hearing a lot of people talk about Burford trying out Burford at tackle.
I wouldn't mind seeing it just to see what it looks like, at least in the preseason or early in training camp, just to see what they can do with them. Do I have the utmost faith in Burford? No. I mean, that I am a forgiving person, all right. But when your F up is like so grand that it pretty much means that all he had to do was the most simplest of things and make contact with a player for a split second, and then we get the winning touchdown. Yeah, I'm gonna have a really, really sour taste in my mouth. But I mean, sure, Burford's still on the team. I mean, what are we gonna do? We're not getting rid of him or anything like that. Yeah. Hey, I'd love it if he just woke up one day right before training camp started, and all of a sudden, God made him this all-pro, guard or tackle or whatever position you want, an all-pro player. Sure, be great. Hey, he'll totally redeem himself. But yeah, I mean, I'm for giving him a shot at another position. Maybe he'll be better. Who knows? Don Dodson is here. What up, Don? She says, "Hey, Niner fan. Checked her on the East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Always good to see her. She's got an excellent guest on that show too, and she's got a lot of pull." What up, David McNiner? He said Moody had a good season for rookie. He wasn't bad. He had a couple of typical mess ups that kickers have. Yeah, not that big of a deal. But I wouldn't say he was a terrible draft pick as a in terms of drafting a kicker. I just didn't like the fact that we could have got offensive linemen instead at one of those third-round picks, but it is what it is.
And why do we have – it's a Super Bowl-ready team. Why are we drafting a rookie kicker?
Exactly. And there were some UDFA kickers on other teams that tend to do had a pretty similar season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, hey, that's hopefully the offensive line
water under the bridge.
Exactly. Hopefully we can figure things out, the offensive line. Some Niner fans are throwing it out there that, hey, maybe the 49ers coaching staff thinks that McKivitz will be better and he'll get better. I mentioned Braden Willis earlier that he looks like he's stepping up and he's being better. Braden Willis was a gold helmet player on the 49ers draft board. They'll put gold helmets on certain players because they hold them in high regard. And McKivitz was actually a gold helmet player, even though I don't necessarily see the talent in him, but maybe there's room for upside and maybe he could get better is what people are throwing out there. I'm not going to go as far as to throw it out there because then people are going to, hold it to me. But, hey, if he does get better, that's cool. But he will have Chris Hubbard there to challenge him, not the greatest of players to challenge him, but that could be interesting, so to speak. Yeah, this offensive line is just everything's we'll see about this offensive line. It really, really is. We covered tight.
Everything is hope.
Yeah, exactly. We covered tight ends. We pretty much covered running backs. I mean, well, CMC's back with his big contract, and that's good.
What do you think about the contract?
You know what? I didn't even look at the terms for it. I think it was like $19 million a year, which is pretty big, right?
It is, but they freed up space for this year and next year with it. Okay. Like it ended up being they freed up at least $7.5 to $8 million for this season, and then next year I think they saved some money too. So and now he's locked up for the next 4 years.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
I think that I think it was a good move. At the very least, he'll be 31 at the end of the deal. So
yeah, and I think for CMC where he's at, you mentioned 31 at the end of the deal. That's a great way of putting it. I think he pretty much has a good 4 years left of football really, really good 4 years left of him in football. And maybe towards the end, he may tail off a bit, and that's fine. That's fine. That's a pretty damn good career for a running back if they can extend it that far along. So we pretty much cover everything on offensive training camp. We can cover a little bit on defense and then call it a night. Because we all got families to go back to and all that.
It's the weekend. Nick, everybody got to turn up.
Exactly. I don't have any plans to turn up for anything. I'm going to a comedy show next Tuesday, though. I've been to one in a minute, though, so that should be fun. That's after the weekend. Nick Bosa shows up at the camp. I'm not surprised that he showed up with in excellent shape. The guys, even him being in bad shape, is like is everybody else's great shape, basically. So so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
But him being early, that definitely tells you that he wants it. It's we picked up Malik Collins, who I'm pretty excited about. Jordan Elliott, just some run stuffers. Nice to have some run stuffers. Evan Anderson is a 350 pound. Not sure if he weighs 350 right now with the Niners. They maybe have asked him to drop some weight. I see 326 here, so I think he might be at 326.
Yeah,
but he's just a big dude. I wanted some big 6'1" run stuffing type tackle. He's a UDFA. Out of what school is he from? Florida Atlantic. Here you go. And I would love to see him step up and be a run stuffer guy. That's maybe one of the last guys on the roster. But I'm hearing a lot of great things about Leonard Floyd. Supposedly he might even be better than D Ford when we had him, or just as good, perhaps. So what do you think about the D line? Looking at what you heard in training camp so far.
When I look at that D line, like I heard you mention Malik Collins and Elliott, and there's a few other guys that like Evan Anderson. I mean, he's a rookie, so who knows what that's going to be like. But what I'm looking at is these defensive ends, this defensive end rotation, because you've got Bosa on the one side. This is a sneaky depth spot for the 49ers. They've got a ton of bodies at defensive end. Because you've got to think Bosa's got his starting spot locked up, and he's probably not coming off the field, but maybe one or two plays. So you look at the other side, and you've got Gross Matos. You've got who I'm high on. I think that he's going to be a juiced up version of the guy that we had last year, that I really liked. I was kind of sad that he left. Man, I can't. I'm blanking on.
I'm trying to think of who you're thinking about. Help us in the chat.
Yeah, I'm Cleveland Farrell.
Cleveland Farrell. Okay. That was unfortunate that we didn't have him for the playoff run either, man. I was kind of bummed out about that.
I really liked him all season long. I felt he played hard, and but I think Gross Matos has a chance to be a little bit better than him.
He does.
Then you've got Leonard Floyd on passing downs. I think Robert Beal gained some weight. He's up to 255 right now.
That's what I was saying. I heard they had him gain about 15 to 20 pounds.
Yeah, so he has a chance to maybe get in there a few snaps. You still don't know what you're getting from Drake Jackson. So this is just a sneaky deep spot for the 49ers. They've got some other guys as well that are going to be, T.Y. McGill is always in the mix. And then there's a couple other guys that I'm Alex Barrett and the other guy that's always in there. Shoot, I have his name right here. I don't want to go without mentioning Kevin Gibbons. He's another guy that always makes plays. He's just a solid
Kevin Gibbons will make plays in the most quiet of fashions too.
Exactly. Yeah. No fanfare.
He won't make any noise or anything like that. But yeah, he's just very solid. He's very solid.
Just a sneaky, deep defensive line with some athleticism.
I agree.
And we didn't even mention Javon Hargrave.
We did not. We did not mention Javon Hargrave, and we still have Kalia Davis in the mix too, who I liked a lot as a prospect, but we barely saw him. He got a sack in one of those games that we barely played the guy, but he had a sack in one game. I forgot what it was. It was in the second half of the season. But I am excited about the D line. Let's move over to we got the linebackers coming up. Greenlaw. I just hope this guy can be. I don't know when we're going to get him. I'm going to pray for a speedy recovery. Fred Warner. Devondre Campbell, former All-Pro. A lot of people are saying he's slowed down. I'm hearing some great things about D. Winters and we got DFF, Tatum Bethune. What do you think about our linebacker room?
I think that regardless, the 49ers always have a good linebacking room. They could get down to their third and fourth stringers, and they're still going to be better than a majority of the league. So, because Curtis Robinson's still in the mix, Jalen Graham's still in the mix. I think you got Ezekiel Turner is still there, and but Tatum Bethune, they said that he's just a football player. And he's another one of those guys that's going to be – it's just another 49er type of linebacker, a guy that's going to end up not having a lot of fanfare coming out, but he's going to end up flying all over the field. And I really want to see what D. Winters brings, because I love that guy coming out of college. And I thought that he was going to be – he was the one that I want. I didn't even think about Jalen Graham, but then everybody started making a big deal out of Jalen Graham.
I remember.
But D. Winters I was so excited that the 49ers got him, because I think he is a 49er type of linebacker.
Fred Warner was saying at times D. Winter looked like the best player out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear he looks vastly improved. I don't want to hype him up too much, because I know it's unpadded practices and all that, but it just sounds like he's done a lot to step up his game, man. I'm excited to see him. And I was really excited when we drafted him, because a friend of mine put me onto him, and I saw his highlight reel. I was like, damn, we got to get this guy.
I'm excited to get back to 49er defense. That's what I'm excited for. I'll be honest with you. Nothing against Steve Wilkes. I just think it wasn't a good fit. And I think that and you hear all the players, if you listen to all of the press conferences, they're all saying the same thing, is that they love Nick Sorensen because they're going to get back to D'Amico's style of defense.
I heard right off the bat, the blitzes look more complex. Even though it's just early mini camps and early training camps, it's just like
they're just flying to the ball.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is that it's, like I said, nothing against Steve Wilkes, but a lot of times guys were on islands, and if they miss a tackle, the guy was running for like 5-6 yards. With D'Amico's style, it was always everybody fly to the ball, and I think that's what it's going to be. This coming season, I think people were so afraid of the running, people giving up rushing yards, but I think that they were going to be back to being one of the best rush defense teams again this year.
Oh, I love. I mean, ever since I started watching the Niners, I mean, it was always Michael Carter and the great run stopping D lines that we had, and I just feel like that's you could call it the West Coast defense if you want. I just feel like that's a staple, in the 49er franchise. Let's before we wrap this up, I just want to thank everybody for coming on. I didn't make a big giant announcement that I was coming on today, but I'm glad to finally come back on my own channel and do a show on my own channel. I'm thankful for Pete for accepting my late invite. I really appreciate that as well.
Yeah, no worries.
Last thing we're going to cover is the defensive backs, or secondary. And I'm not a big secondary guy. I'm more about the trenches, but this season, more so than other seasons, I feel really good about the secondary, and I'm a bit excited to see what it's going to look like, because we do have, I'm a big Diamador Lenore fan. A lot of people were trashing him when we first got him, and I stuck with him, and I think he's a very nice complimentary player to have on this team. We mentioned Renardo Green, heard some good things about in camp. You can cover that all you want. We have Jair Brand Talanoa Hufanga at safety, obviously, but a new guy, Malik Mustafa, who we mentioned earlier in the draft. Looks like there was an undrafted free agent, Jalen Mahoney, who I don't know anything about, but we still have Eric Harris, Taylor Hawkins, George Odom. I love him on special teams, by the way. But Isaac Yadam's a new corner that we got. Rock Yassin, two veteran corners that may figure to be in the mix. Samuel Womack still around. Chase Lucas. So where are you going around with the secondary? Feel free to speak on Mooney Ward, of course. You can't forget Mooney Ward.
I mean, I think this is the deepest secondary we've had under the Shanahan regime. That's the way I'm looking at it. Isaac Yadam has showed up and showed out in this mini camp and OTAs so far. And I get it that there's no pads, but there's been enough fanfare about him, like that he kind of shut down Juwan Jennings, and people might not think anything of that, but Juwan Jennings has been known to get he does a really good job of getting open usually, and Yadam kind of shut him down in minicamp. I really like Yadam, and then of course you've got Lenore, but we've heard a lot of good things about Darrell Luter as well.
Yeah, I was gonna mention him.
So it's key now. It's been hit and miss with
Well, I mean, Ambry Thomas has been just getting lit up from what I heard.
I think Ambry Thomas is gone, dude.
Yeah, he's done. He's got to be done. He's got to be done unless somebody gets hurt. And who, knock on wood, we don't want that happening. But then the Sam Womack is kind of been hit or miss. Like in against certain guys, he's doing well. Certain other situations, he's not doing so well. So he's been looking better than Ambry Thomas. And then Mooney Ward doesn't even have to get out there. We know what Mooney Ward is. So, but as far as the safeties go, I think we're just waiting for Huff to get back on the field because he said it's possible that he could be back by week 1.
It's very
kind of scary.
Yeah, it kind of scares me, but I hope the doctors don't rush him by any stretch of the imagination. He's ready, and I love Hufanga. I felt really bad when he got hurt, but I do love the depth at the safety position as well. And in case he is hurt, I think we can do something. Now Gibson may not be around. Gibson may retire. He's not really there right now, so it looks like they're going to have to do without Gibson. But we do have reinforcements. Yeah, Darrell Luter Jr. Man, I'm not gonna hype him up too much, but the little I did hear was that at times he's looked like a second Mooney Ward out there.
He looks big and athletic,
and yeah.
Have you seen the pictures of him?
I haven't seen the pictures, but I just heard he's doing way better than he did early on last year.
Yeah, he looks put together. Like he looks put together, and I think that this is the deepest the 49ers secondary has been in a long time.
And early on, they say Renardo Green's looking pretty damn good too.
And he looks good as well.
Yeah, so it's very rare that 49ers draft quarterbacks who get this high praise early on. I just hope it continues. I hope they build upon it, I remember we can go back to Samuel Womack and hear how much praise he got. And then when the games came around, what did he do? So I'm going to end it right there. Roberto Hastings is here. What's up, Roberto?
What up, Roberto?
Shouting out Peter. What's up? We pretty much covered a lot of the things that I didn't cover because I wasn't here for quite some time. A lot of post-draft stuff, UDFA stuff, and of course the mini camps. We talked a little bit about Ayuk. Obviously the quarterback position. I forgot to mention Tanner Mordecai, but it's all good. He's a UDFA, and I forgot I was going to mention Josh Dobbs. I heard those really quick. Like I heard Josh Dobbs and isn't looking too good at camp. He's not showing his accuracy. I guess he's a gamer because he's very inaccurate so far in camp. And Brandon Allen supposedly looks better than him. So
Brandon Allen's looked stellar. And Grant Cohn gave him some kudos as well. So
we'll see where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But appreciate everybody in the chat. I mean, it's great to finally come back on this channel and just do my thing with the 49ers. Now, there's not going to be much to talk about these next few weeks because, again, mini camps have just ended, the mandatory mini camps, and there's going to be a bit of a break. Maybe Ayuk's contract gets done with pretty soon, and then we can have more to talk about then. When it happens, hopefully, I don't want it to be a Michael Crabtree situation or anything ridiculous like that. Pete, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being the first guy to come back on my channel since I took a long break from my channel. And man, great to have you. I've been, like I said, I had you on once a long time ago, and you've been on my channel before, and I've been on your channel before. That is, and I just think we have a great rapport, and you're just a really, really cool person, and we're kind of from the same generation. Oh yeah, man. And we both love the Niners. And I know you're just as passionate as the Niners, if not more than I am. You're very knowledgeable. And it's just great to have you on, man. I appreciate it. Love to have you on again in the future, man.
Dog, anytime. Make sure you follow my guy, Bash on all of his on all of his stuff. He's everywhere. He's on Instagram. He's on Twitter. And make sure that, you follow, make sure you give everybody a subscribe, give the video a like. Bash doing great things. I remember you were one of the first people to reach out to me when I was first starting, it's been 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
And dog, I will never stop appreciating you. So it is it's great. It's great being on the channel. And anytime you want to come on, you just let me know. Oh, you're on mute, I think. Or is it me?
Gotta mute myself, man. I love muting myself. You know what's funny? My microphone has a feature where it kind of automatically mutes me anyways, and it just and then when I speak up, it will unmute it, right? It'll detect it. It has a software, but for some reason I always hit that mute button. Anyways, again, thank you to everybody watching. Hopefully we'll have more to talk about. There's gonna be a pretty strong dead period coming up in this off season. It's always great having you on. We'll definitely try to do this again. With that said, guys, keep repping those 49ers and stay 49er minded. Peace. Let's go. Let's go, Niners.
Come on, 49er faithful, let's get it.
Because it's 49er mind.
We gotta do this one time for the Empire.
It's 49er mind. It's 49er mind.
We gotta get that brick by brick done quick.
49er mind.
Yeah, yo, we can't listen to them haters, man.
49er mind.
We from the Bay.
49er mind.
We them San Francisco 49ers.
49er mind.
We got that red and gold blood inside us.
49er mind.